Hi everyone,
Hi.
we're live now. Olga has been able to join us, which is great. We were having some technical difficulties, but thank you everyone for joining. What I'll do is I'll just wait for a few more people to filter into the room, but very excited to have you here today. It's great that we're being joined by Husky. They are our leading software workplace pension business. They deliver exceptional service to our clients. And what they're going to do today is just run through the service that they can provide and how they're able to help your clients' businesses when it comes to their workplace pensions. Joined by Brendan Shanks, Olga, and Gustavo. And I'm going to hand over to Brendan, who's going to start off with the presentation. Over to you, Brendan.
Great, thanks, Annie. And thanks for having us on this call today. Let me try and share my screen with you. So hopefully that's now working. Olga, I'll probably stop sharing and then you share when I hand over to you. So just so you're aware. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in. And yeah, we've just put together a presentation today about basically these changes that are coming through on Rachel Reeves' latest budget, what the implications are, how that can be mitigated by salary sacrifice. And then Olga's going to give a little bit of a kind of demonstration of how it works with our system. And then if there's kind of any questions, we're going to do a kind of Q&A at the end. And Gustavo is our marketing manager, so we can also share content and materials with you post the call, but I thought important to have Gustavo here as well. So yeah, let me page down. So for those of you who don't know who we are, as we got a very nice introduction from Annie, we're a workplace pension software and service. We look after primarily SMEs in the UK market. And started this company over 10 years ago. We built software, we own our own software, and we allow advisors and accountants use that software. They work with us as partners, and we work in conjunction with their payroll teams, or if they don't run payroll or want to outsource payroll, we work with them on their payroll as well. So there's a few stats here on the employers we've helped, but I think we can just jump into really these changes and what the kind of significant numbers look like. So as regards what Reeves has done, and probably just for everyone's benefit, we're going to talk specifically about salary sacrifice or salary exchange on pension contributions. We're not going to get into other areas like medical, dental, cars, cycle of work. They're all possibilities and they're all effectively cash flows, but we're very specifically a software to be implemented for your pension contributions. And we see a major void in this space where we would say in SMEs with 1 to 50 employees have probably 95% of them don't salary sacrifice their existing pension contributions. So which we think is just crazy, and it's just a missed opportunity. And we built this software to make that a really efficient journey. So jumping into these changes, as you probably all have seen, it's been all over the national press every day, which has obviously helped us in terms of kind of raising the profile of this missed opportunity for SMEs. So the main, the kind of main changes here, quite clearly, we're going to go from 13.8% to 15% national insurance employer contributions. So a reasonably significant increase there. I think also what's probably missed by a lot of people is this when national insurance is going to now kick in at £5,000. So that's quite a significant difference there as well. But the big gain, I think, that maybe has been missed in the press a lot, I have hardly seen it mentioned, is this increase in the employer allowance from £5,000 to £10,500. So that's an increase of £5,500 effectively for the business. And depending on obviously how much you pay in national insurance, it might actually cover your national insurance, but you need to be a pretty small employer for that to cover your bill. But that is a significant change. And then here we have what we've done, because people like to get this in context of, what would like an average company look like. Now, Actually, this is probably not an average company, because generally you have probably a slightly higher paid person or two in a 10-person company. But what we've done is kind of base the calculations and what these changes will mean on a 10-person company, all earning £35,000 a year, which is roughly the average UK salary. So, you know, we're not even including people who be earning higher amounts, and there can be significantly greater savings, especially when you are kind of looking at tax thresholds where you're going from sort of 20% to 40% taxpayer, and then 40 to 45. There's really significant things you can do there to salary sacrifice amounts of money into your pension, which then bizarrely in this strange world of taxation actually, you know, gives you more net pay and more benefits than if you weren't to do it. So we help people understand that through calculators. And obviously we don't advise people. What we do is we work on behalf of employers to give them software to help them process this. But people can kind of calculate through our software, which Olga will take you through, just exactly those things. So you can see the benefits when you do these things. So looking at these changes in the kind of those rates, what it means, effectively what it means is this 10-person business is going to have an increased costs of £9,258 in national insurance. Now, obviously the big benefit, as I mentioned, is the offset of that 5,500. So the amount therefore is going to increase around £3,758. You know, assuming everything's equal. So again, I've touched into how we basically help, you know, and why you should be doing this. But in effect, what we see because of auto-enrolment, and particularly in this 1 to 50 segment, where a lot of employers went to their accountants and asked them to set up a pension or help them set up a pension, and kind of implement that through payroll, because they did their payroll. What got missed in that is because there was generally not an advisor in the loop or an accountant didn't know to do it, very few of these pension contributions are sacrificed in terms of salary sacrifice or salary exchanged. So that's exactly what we do. We have software that overlays the existing software systems of payroll and the payroll bureaus. And then we also work with the pension providers. So we think implementing this is actually quite a simple process when you use our system. It's actually a very complicated process if you don't have a system, because it really, it kind of, it gets into your employment contracts. So that's what we alleviate. And obviously there's then pension administration and payroll administration that needs to be done every payroll run. I think Olga is probably going to be better to show you this in detail of how our app works and how employees start to understand how they have a benefit to doing this. I think my job here today is more to talk about what this means for your employees, and therefore what, you know, you can do by just implementing salary sacrifice on your existing pension contributions. This is what it will mean. So we took that 10 employer company on £35,000 each. So their national insurance has gone up to £45,000. That £45,000 can be reduced with salary exchange, assuming they were all salary exchange or existing contribution, and therefore the cost comes down by £2,625. We get asked a lot, and a lot of payroll systems struggle with how this saving is allocated. So in a lot of cases, employers take all of that saving. So say, for example, Annie was just to come in and sacrifice her existing pension contribution, she would increase her net pay by 140, assuming she's on 35,000. So her net pay goes up by £140, and that's it. But her employer would actually increase their benefit by £262.50. Now, with our system, you can, as an employer, choose to give any amount of that saving back to your employee in a pension contribution. So a lot of employers do that when they understand this. Some employers take some of it, like to take maybe even, there's an admin cost to businesses doing this. So there's a Husky fee, for example, they can cover that fee and then give all the benefit, the rest of the benefit to the employee, or keep, often 50-50 comes up. Now, interestingly, since the changes were announced, the increase in national insurance, some employers have come to us to say, how do we actually get some of that saving back? So again, our system is 100% configurable as to any amount. So that can be a specific amount, it can be a percentage, it can be any number. And we then deal with that process with the payroll provider. So we then give them the pension contribution file, which is what they require to run payroll, if they run payroll, or we can run payroll, depending on how they want to work. So in this example, the benefit to the business is this £2,625 per annum, and 140 for the individual into their net pay. But obviously, if the employer says, no, I'll give that back to the employee because they chose to salary sacrifice, they then will get this £262.50 into their pension, and then a combined benefit basically of £400, £402.50 a year. So obviously real relevance to do this. And as mentioned, if you head up into much higher salaries and you're at these thresholds of where you get an increased tax amount, then you can really benefit in bigger amounts. Right. So I think now Olga is going to sort of demonstrate how our system can kind of be operated and works with both employers, the intermediary payroll person, if they have that, and the employees. So so I think, Olga, over to you.
So thank you, Brendan. Yeah, that's exactly it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a quick demo of our software and focusing especially on the whole salary exchange implementation. Just as an overview before I start, Brendan already touched in on this. We are workplace pensions administrators, so we manage anything to do with workplace pensions for our clients. The main thing is the way we do it together with salary exchange implementation. It's ensuring compliance and through technology. So that's the main difference. Everything is done through our platform, which I'm gonna share in a second. Oh, hopefully you can see my screen. Before I get started explaining the process, I'm going to go back again to what Brendan was mentioning about salary sacrifice and why, you know, most employers don't actually do it. I'm sure a lot of you who work with employers know, but one of the main reasons is awareness, of course. First of all, a lot of employers don't even know that's a possibility. The second one we touched on earlier is the whole administration, change on the contract of employment, calculations, payroll deductions, you know, if their salary changes, how do I deal with that? So the whole administration is usually a big pushback. And the third one that it's not heard that often is qualifying earnings. So most of you probably know a lot of SMEs actually set up their pension on qualifying earnings, so a band of earnings. And a lot of the payroll softwares do not have the capability to calculate salary sacrifice deductions on qualifying earnings, meaning that employers sometimes have to move to pensionable pay set one and pay contributions on the whole basic pay, making it a bigger cost and therefore a reason why they do not implement salary sacrifice. With that in mind, it's how we try to design our solution to fix all these problems. And what you can see on the screen is basically the start of a process for an employee. So this is our employee app. And the way we work is the employee actually opts in for salary sacrifice themselves in-app. Because we are the administrators and we have all the data, we know how much they're earning already, we know how much they're contributing into pension. So the calculator will straight away let them know by just moving to salary sacrifice, how much they're going to be getting more in their net pay and potentially in their pension. As Brendan touched on earlier, we have the flexibility. So if a company wants to reinvest 50% of their savings into the employee spot, keep everything, give everything back, doesn't matter. We can just configure it, and this calculator will then show that. So as a high level, the employee then also has the flexibility to increase their contributions. Again, I'm sure it's a lot of cases of people wanting to be more tax efficient if they're going to start paying on their allowance or on some of the child benefits, etc. They can actually even set up as an amount in the Husky app, so making it quite easy. And then the main piece to make the process hopefully a lot more straightforward is that they will then get the side letter directly in app, and they can just accept it here. What that means, there's no employment lawyers involved, there's no manually going and signing letters. If someone wants to increase contributions in the future, they can just follow the same process and have an up-to-date agreement instead of a lot of paperwork otherwise. Basically, as you can see here, we have also scheme rules, we have a lot of FAQs, we have quite a bit of material. And once the employee has actually accepted, it goes to the employer, which is, as you can see, they have a portal where they can see the benefits of the company, and they can approve or reject any new requests of salary sacrifice, of increasing of contributions, etc. It's worth mentioning a couple of things that you need to take into account, of course, when implementing salary exchange. Main one is that you cannot go below minimum wage, so employees cannot go below minimum wage. Our software does do some checks on that, and will flag it if we think, we'll flag it to the employee, and we'll flag it as well to the employer for approval. It will also flag, it will not allow people to go below the minimums in terms of contributions, and it will flag if there's some percentages that don't look right as well. Once that's approved by the employer, the process is then done. In our software, we keep an audit trail of everything. So in this example, you can then see the salary exchange agreement, current one, all past agreements as well. And I'm going to touch on this later, but because we also manage anything to do with the scheme, there's also all the auto-enrollment communications that will be stored in the system. Hopefully that gives a bit of an overview of the whole salary exchange process. I'm sharing then also the backend. Again, that's always a bit confusing, but I always find it useful for people to actually understand how things actually work. So this is what we call our rules engine. And basically, we do this compliance check on a monthly basis. So that data that came from the app, it's here. We also have delegate access of the pension scheme, so we can check if we think any of the payroll deductions might not be correct for any reason. Again, typical salary sacrifice ones. As I mentioned, sometimes people might have changed their salary. Payroll had a specific deduction every month, and they're now below the minimums. Simple things like that people might not even check for, means they're non-compliant. So that's some of the things that we check on a monthly basis. As you can see here as well, we allow multiple schemes. So for any clients that might have a worker contributing into their own SIP, or might have a scheme on qualifying earnings for some of the workforce, and another one for some of the directors. That's all very easily managed through this system and through the backend as well. A couple of things then worth mentioning. I think I have a couple of companies here as an example. Is, as I said, anything else to do with compliance. So employers have and their advisors or their accountants have basically a tool, a portal where they can see everything that's going on pensions, and they have basically a bit of a HR system for pensions, however you want to call it. One of the important things are the communications, the auto-enrollment communications. As I'm sure you are aware, they need to be stored for 6 years, and a lot of payroll softwares do not manage that or deal with that. So we have an audit trail of everything, uploads, communication sent, etc. So as you can imagine, we do deal with the pensions regulator if there's audits, clients that come to us because they've been fined. So we help on those cases through our software. We do the whole rectification as well. So it's always one of the points worth mentioning. Yeah, I think, again, Brendan, please add anything else. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on as well on the salary exchange calculators before we finish on this. Again, I show you what the employee will see, but there's also an employer calculator on here in our tool, as you can see as an example, on how much the company is actually saving every month, the potential on how much they could be saving. And, we have quite a lot of calculators then on what if you move earnings basis, what if you hire someone. So you can do quite a lot of projections on that front, helping some of the bigger employers actually on this. As this example here on this banner, it just highlights how much this company is already saving and how much the employees are saving at the moment. I think on the other screen, we also mentioned our comparator tool. I thought I can just very quickly touch on that. It's probably not that relevant. This is a part of the software that's we can use or not. It depends usually on who refers the client. Some clients have someone that actually sets up and chooses a scheme for them, but there's always the option otherwise to use our comparator tool. So basically we get preferential rates from all the different providers, and therefore the employee here can actually choose and move pension provider if they wish to. We highlight things like costs, as I'm sure some of you know, there's some providers that a lot of companies go with, but they charge quite a bit to employees, even if they're free to employers. So yeah, we just give an overview as well for employers to make an informed decision. I'm conscious we don't have much more time, but so please, Brendan, Gustavo, if there's anything I missed, anything else.
No, that's perfect. Thanks, Olga. I'm just going to share screen one more time. So back to the numbers, which was probably the basis of this call. Hopefully that's sharing. So that slide I showed you where, and we're seeing a lot of this in the press where they're saying, look, your bill is going to go up by 9,258. Actually, in reality, with that 5,500 increase, it's going to go up by £3,758. But actually, if you were to implement salary sacrifice on your existing pension contributions, so a cost that's already within the business, you'd bring that cost down by another £2,625, as we pointed out in the other screen. So ultimately, cost for a business with 10 people on 35k, their bill is going to go up by £1,733 if you are to implement salary sacrifice. So we think it's absolutely key time to do it. The run up to April, but obviously from April too, but there's no reason not to start this now. So that's, I think, it from us. I think, is there any questions?
Thanks, Brendan and Olga. I was going to say, if you've got any questions, it's a great time to pop them in the Q&A box just at the bottom there. We have had a few come in, so I will ask them and hopefully you can answer them. One of the questions is, what compliance issues should we be aware of, and can you manage it?
Yeah, multiple. Olga, will I hand that one to you?
Sorry, I was sharing screen. I couldn't find the mute button. Yeah, exactly. Some of the ones I mentioned. So we usually find quite a bit of compliance issues when we take on new clients. Simple ones, but more typical than it should be. Is, for example, the scheme might be set up on pension roll, on tax relief at source. Actually, payroll might be doing some deductions on net pay. Happens with salary sacrifice as well. Deductions sometimes are not done correctly. There's double tax relief, which of course then needs to be fixed. We also find typical one, any clients on pension pay set 2, for example, there's that 85% rule. Every time you take on a client on pension pay set 2, that's a typical one you find. And new joiners, postponement, people reaching the age of 22, for example. And on the salary sacrifice, as I said, it's very typical that people change salaries and the deductions stay the same, and therefore they go below the minimums. Or people want to increase, they change it through payroll. It's not change on the agreement. So this, are some of the typical ones we find. And as I mentioned, our software through the rules engine, we check that every month. So that's something we check. Yes.
Yeah, I think on that, one of the key points when we talk to accountants, we often have a payroll person go, oh, we do all that. We do the uploads to Nest, and we kind of do the pension contribution file through our payroll software. So we definitely ask that question about where do you keep your where does the employer then keep the legally required communications for 6 years? Because that's just lost in the kind of noise of auto enrollment, and is quite a critical thing. So we haven't seen a payroll software do that. It's not really the job of payroll software. So that's a major compliance kind of point that I would always point out.
Fantastic, thank you. And another question is, how can we get started with Husky?
Well, really simple, I think. I mean, there's various things on our website, but I would say we'd have a conversation with you immediately, whether that's Olga, me, we're a team of 10, so we're a small team, but we have a best-in-class software, so it's all very software driven. So, and we work directly with, as I said, whether it's with the existing payroll that's going on within the business, so the business does payroll, or they outsource it to the accountant. We work with either of those, and we work with all the softwares. So it's pretty straightforward, but we're delighted to have a conversation, and yeah, we're ready to go anytime.
Brilliant. And I would say the easiest way for our Swoop users is to upload your client to your portal. And within that portal, you can register your interest under the savings products. And then we will be able to reach out and make those introductions for you as well. Another question is, how can we communicate to our clients and their employees?
So I think this is why I kind of had Gustavo join, because Gustavo has so much content, and whether they're emails or brochures or videos, whatever you kind of need, we're very open to, even bespoking. Recently, just for an example, we worked with a payroll business, and they asked us, would we look at the gross pay for these businesses and tell them how much specifically they could be saving on implementing salary sacrifice? So that was just a spreadsheet we put together in half an hour. It's not difficult. So we've loads of content. I don't know, Gustavo, have you anything to say on that?
Yeah, we can even can share some email templates that you can basically copy and paste just to share the information. And then also we have a calculator on our website that all the employers and the employees can just go there, and then under the salary exchange landing page, and then just enter your details of your company, how many employees you have, the average salary, and then it gives like overview of how much you can be saving. So after that, we can just talk to the support team and then set up a demo, which takes like 10 minutes, as Brandon mentioned, just like a software, very easy to use. And then it just 2-3 steps, everything's done.
Amazing. What I can do on our end is we can make sure that we've got all of those email templates put into your self-serve marketing hub, and we can make a communication so that you know where to access those as well. Super. And is any more questions or time to wrap up for lunch? Thank you very much for joining. If you do have any questions, please reach out to your success managers and we'll be able to put you in the right direction, or do upload your clients to the portal and register your interest, and we can make sure you're introduced to the team over at Husky. Thanks so much.
Great. Thanks, Annie.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.